recording, we will be starting our presentation for the day. This is a funding opportunity administered by United Way of Greater LA on behalf of the Los Angeles County Care First Community Investment Initiative. Again, welcome all. As we get started, we will be recording this session. We will also be sharing this at the end, and we will also be answering any questions. As we move on to the next slide, I'll go ahead and start by introducing myself. My name is Nancy Martinez. I am here on behalf of United Way. I'm here on behalf of United Way to go over this second strategy. And a couple logistics for us today is the session is being recorded and will be posted online. We will also be sharing all of the RFP materials, including the link to apply. The Zoom chat is disabled. Please make sure that you're asking all your questions in the Q&A feature. We again want to make sure that you're able to ask all the questions that you have, and we will make sure that those get answered as well. If you are posting anything in the webinar chat, please, that are questions on the webinar, please make sure to switch it over to the Q&A feature, and we will make sure to get those addressed to you at the end of this webinar. We'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. Today, we're hoping to cover a couple things, some logistics, some intro questions, some important dates, an overview on the strategy and eligibility and the scoring, how to submit this application, and answer any questions you might have towards the end. I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Wahid.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time. So again, my name is Wahid Ahmed, and I'm a program officer with United Way. Just wanted to talk a little bit about who United Way is and our roles with this funding opportunity. So United Way at LA, we believe that every community across Greater LA County has to be rooted in equity and justice, where every generation can prosper. And we accomplish that goal by combining community power, donations, and solutions to addressing longstanding challenges, by supporting neighbors in crisis and closing the prosperity gap. We have three kind of programmatic pillars that we use to prop up that goal. One is our education and workforce access pillar, which builds pathways from education into the workforce and economic mobility. The second pillar is through economic empowerment, which is meant to help households and small businesses build long-lasting financial stability and addressing wealth gaps. And then the third pillar is through supporting resilient communities. And for us, that means supporting our neighbors who are in crisis and also making sure that families stay stably housed. Sorry, I'll go forward. Just a little bit more about us and kind of our role within this funding opportunity. So United Way's mission, again, is around justice and equity and delivering that across LA County. And again, we do that by kind of breaking silos and making sure that there's alignment amongst different parties in different sectors to advance that goal. Our role in order to achieve that is as a third-party administrator for JCOD. So we are mobilizing resources and partners to advance economic opportunity across the region. And this opportunity in particular is made possible through JCOD. So United Way is administering strategy 2 of JCOD's 5 kind of funding strategies. And that is around economic mobility and economic empowerment. So with that, I'll pass it over to my colleague, Tina.
Thank you, Wahid. I will share a little bit in the next slide regarding our RFP overview that includes CFCI Strategy 2, specifically available funding around it, key dates, eligibility, and scoring. Good afternoon. My name is Tina. I am the Director of Homeless Solutions and Preventions with United Way, and I am excited to meet you and have this conversation with y'all. So I'm going to repeat some of the stuff that Wahid shared because we just want to make sure we get to share this as much as possible and share about this opportunity. And we'll start a little bit with basics. What is CFCI and what is our role? CFCI stands for the Care First Community Investment Initiative. It grew out of Measure J, which LA County voters approved in 2020 to direct funding toward community investment. Today, CFCI provides around a $300 million annual investment towards alternative to incarceration. It is guided by a 25-member advisory committee that kind of sets funding priorities around the county. As Wahid shared, United Way will be serving as a county's third-party administrator. So you're going to hear a lot about TPAs and what and who we are. We were selected for this role alongside 3 other TPAs, and our job is to distribute CFCI funds to eligible community-based organizations, just like many of you on this call doing really great work serving our community. CFCI is broken into 5 strategies, and today's RFP is going to be very specifically focused on strategy 2, which is economic opportunity and sustainability. These funds are meant to reach community-based organizations doing really meaningful work in the community and historically underserved communities across LA County. The other TPAs that I mentioned earlier, who are Haluna Health, Community Partners, and Amity, will oversee other strategies that you could find on JCOD's website. And also we have it in this slide where you can kind of like highlight and see because each TPA is responsible for a strategy, and then within those strategies, each of us are responsible for a certain number of programs that we oversee that you could apply for. So we just want to highlight that before we go to the next slide and zoom in a little bit into strategy 2, what it is, what it provides, what does it look like. So within strategy 2 specifically, they are going to be around $0.4 million available across 13 different programs for the next 3 years. And I want to highlight that these programs actually reach a very wide range of populations, including immigrants, undocumented communities, Black and Indigenous residents, at-risk youth, and small business and nonprofits. The common thread across all these programs is a shared goal of overall community prosperity with a real focus on historically underserved communities in LA County. And I'll show you and we'll highlight you how's that 19.4 kind of like divided for across all 13 programs. So one, we just want to show you all the programs that this funding opportunity is providing funding for. And also you could see the maximum allowed per program for the next 3 years. So as you could see, the 19.4 million is not equally divided between 13 programs. Each of them have a different max allowed. And then you could find more details about that in the RFP page, page 4, where you could see the minimum and maximum allowed per program. So just to give you a little bit of feel for the range here and kind of share a little bit of examples of some of these programs. So I just want to highlight maybe 3 of them. So one of them is the Economic Resilient Fund. Basically, it is a direct cash, no string attached for undocumented households, Black and Indigenous residents, and small businesses that are currently being hurt by ICE enforcements. Another one I want to highlight is General Training and Employment Services. That is one of our biggest single programs, over $4 million. And it's about job training, helping people find job, and support folks to retain those jobs once they get it. The third one I want to highlight is worker ownership program that helps businesses transition to being owned by people who actually work there. So think of employee stock ownership or worker co-ops. this one is especially used for legacy businesses when the owner is retiring and wants to keep the business going. So rather than just closing the business or selling it to an outside buyer, the workers will become the owners. So it's kind of like a shot at building generational wealth, something that historically has been very hard to access in these communities. I want to highlight four kind of like notes about award amounts. So as you will see in the RFP page 4, you will see that a minimum and maximum award range is different per program. And those award amounts are for the 3-year contract term. And as I shared, they range varies by program. So please check the specific program that you are applying for and kind of like share with us how much funding you are looking for the program you are proposing. The second thing I want to highlight is that you can apply for more than one program. So there are 13 programs currently available. You could apply for all 13 programs as long as you meet the eligibility criteria for them. You can also apply across all 5 strategies. You just have to submit an application to whatever TPA is responsible for that strategy. So right now we have United Way, the strategy to 13 programs. You could apply for up to 13 programs and share how much funding you are looking for within each allowable minimum maximum within each of those programs. The last clarification I want to share is that none of these funds can be used for law enforcement. All funded activities are intended to help reduce long-term incarceration. And I think pass it on to Wahid to share a little bit about timeline.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And I apologize. My camera is not working right now. So a little bit more about timeline. So the funding opportunity was released on July 24th. And then going forward, we're having 4 webinars. We had one last week. Our second one is today, and we have 2 more on August 10th and August 20th at 5 p.m. and 1 p.m. respectively. We are also accepting written questions from applicants, where you can email us and ask us questions that you have about the RFP or any clarification questions that you might need answered. The deadline for that, those written question submissions, is on again August 11th at 5 p.m. Specific time, not midnight. A lot of people have gotten that confused in the past. And we'll have an updated frequently asked questions document for you all on August 18th that addresses the written questions that you all have submitted to us. And really important is the submission deadline for this application. We're giving community 1 month to finish the application, and so that is August 24th at midnight. That is a very, very hard deadline. Unfortunately, if that application comes in at 12 or 12:01, won't be able to accept it. And so I really do want to urge that everybody submit their application by that time. And from there, we'll go on to application review for about another month from the August 25th to September 30th. We'll announce awards and awarded grantees on October 1st, and then have contracts signed between October 2nd and October 16th for our awardees. Expected contract dates are on October 19th or upon approval from JCOD. And then your initial payment after that contract is signed will be within 45 calendar days from the contract start date. All right, and from there, I will pass it on. Oops, excuse me. To Tina.
Thank you. So I'll walk you through eligibility criteria and kind of like what does that look like. So first thing first, organization experience and type. Organizations applying for this funding opportunity must have provided services in LA County for at least the past 2 years, including at least 6 months of that serving the specific population you're applying for to serve. So for example, let's say that you have been serving the TAPE population for many, many years, but now you want to start serving immigrant families. You must have at least 6 months of this experience here within those many years of your experience to be able to be eligible for that population that you are proposing to apply for. And proof of that can include letters of recommendation, it can include copies of contract, or just attestation of experience. This is very about your experience and your history of delivering services, not how long your organization has actually been legally registered. So if your organization has only recently incorporated, but the underlying work goes way back further. For example, let's say that your program used to be operating under a different structure or a fiscal sponsor, you can still meet the eligibility requirement that I'll share a little bit when we get to fiscal sponsorship. Eligible entities include nonprofits, tribes, business entities, and fiscally sponsored organization. So if you are applying through a fiscal sponsor, that sponsor will need to be registered with California Secretary of State for at least 1 year. The third one is good standing. So you or your fiscal sponsor, if applicable, will need to be in good standing with California Secretary of State, which means that you are current on required state filing, like state of information. Your agency has not been suspended or terminated or forfeited, which can sometimes happen due to like unpaid taxes or failure to file required documentation. And then the fourth one is service location. So you will need to be located within LA County and serve LA County zip codes. So that includes, let's say that your headquarters is somewhere else, but you have an office in LA County. As long as the funding for this opportunity will be used for that office and serving LA County residents, you qualify for. So you will need to have an office in LA County. I think in the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about fiscal sponsorship. Yes. So if you're wondering if you need a fiscal sponsor, we kind of put together this kind of flow chart to help you figure it out. And then this is going to be the same one we're going to use internally during our preliminary screening after application deadline. So we just want to share it with you and walking you through it, kind of like going from like from this way to this way. So if you do have 2 years of experience delivering services, so that'll be like the first box. If that's a yes, you move to the next box. And then you are registered as a California business entity, and then you are in good standing, and your organization has been registered for at least 2 years. So if you meet all those four, you will automatically move straight to a full review of your application. If you are missing one of these, maybe a fiscal sponsor may be a good idea to kind of close the gap for you. So that 2-year experience is about your organization. The fiscal sponsor already has a different criteria that I'm going to share a little bit in the next slide. Thank you. So these are some of the requirements that the fiscal sponsor must have. So for a fiscal sponsor to qualify, one, they will need to be a California-based nonprofit with sufficient experience, which is at least 2 years of specific experience as a fiscal sponsor, providing services like financial oversight, financial management, or administrative services to other organizations. And they will have to be registered with California Secretary of State for at least 1 year and also be in a good standing like we shared earlier. So and then the sponsor also will have to be willing to obtain the required insurance, naming your organization, naming the county, and naming United Way of Greater Los Angeles as additional insureds. And we, as United Way, will be able to determine at our own sole discretion whether a fiscal sponsor documentation is sufficient, and we reserve the right to decline an application based on that review. If fiscal sponsorship is a path for you, and you will need to have an approved sponsor in place by the time you will submit your application. And if you do need help identifying one, you could always reach out to us at jcodinfo@unitedwayla.org. All right, in the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about application requirements. So there are 9 requirements that will need to be included in your application packet, including the application that you get to fill out on SurveyMonkey, and which Megan will walk you through it in a little bit. So the 9 attachments that are part of this packet, 6 of them are required and 3 of them are optional. So I'll walk you through the required documents, and then we'll talk a little bit about the optional, the 3 optional. So the 6 required attachments, one is your most recent tax return. So that could be your 990, that could be your 990N, it could be your 990EZ or equivalent from 2024 or later. The second one is your the documentation of your organization's professional status, which can be your 501c3 letter. It could be a business entity documentation, or it could be your fiscal sponsor documentation. The third one is your proof of insurance. So unlike the fiscal sponsorship that needs to be in place and signed and agreed on before, once you submit an application, it has to be included in your application that you do have a partnership with a fiscal sponsor. The proof of insurance can be take a little bit longer. Let's say if you don't have the right insurance and you're still working towards it. So you could provide a certificate of insurance if you already have one. If you do not have one and you're looking for one, you could provide an estimate from a broker as an attachment, or a signed attestation letter saying that you will have insurance by the time that the contract is executed, which is going to be around October 19. So as long as you kind of like commit to having insurance by October 19, around October 19, when the contract will be executed, we could take that documentation as proof of insurance. The first one is your completed budget form. So you're going to be using the Excel form from the JCOD's website when it has like strategy to documents. You will download that, you will fill it out, you will use the same budget template for all the programs that you're going to apply for. But what we ask is that you would create a tab for each program that you're applying for. And then I'm going to skip number 5. I'll go to number 6, your LA County or city business license or tax registration certificate. I'll skip 7 and go to number 8. Your current California Secretary of State good standing status proof. And then the optional items. So number 5 is optional. Your last 2 years of financial statement, if audited, preferred, if you have that available. Your signed fiscal sponsor agreement, if applicable, and that's a route you are taking. And then 9 is any supporting documents you would like to share with us. If you want to include an article, if you want to include a flyer, some people like to include history of their work, their services that they provided, but we ask that you only include up to 3 additional documents if you want to include supporting documents. And we ask that you only submit 1 application per organization. If you are choosing to partner with another organization on a related program, that partner will also need to submit their own separate application, unless you are going to potentially subcontract with someone. You are more than welcome to subcontract with someone. We ask that you include that information in your application and you share with us of like what the vision is, what the work is going to look like. If it's the subcontracting to help a smaller agency build capacity, or if it's a smaller agency who is wanting to work with another partner entity for a little bit, just to like build their own capacity. We want to like learn a little bit more about that in your application, but we asked if you could include if you plan to have a subcontract for the program that you're applying for. And I will pass it on to Nancy for selection process.
Hi everyone. So now that we kind of understand or have our head have wrapped around the idea of what we need, we're going to go over how we will be selecting in that process to ensure that it is something you're all aware of on what the process would look like, not only in your application process, but in the selection process. So as mentioned before, You will have to submit the application online through our SurveyMonkey Apply portal. This link, as well as other useful links, will be shared at the end for you all. The deadline to apply is August 24th at 11:59 p.m. Again, this is a hard deadline, so we definitely want to reiterate that that deadline and ensure you are all ready to apply and submit before that or on that date and time. Once we are able to get all of the applications in, we will begin a review and scoring process using a uniform criteria, and then we will be able to finalize the details and be able to announce the grantees. A few priority criteria that we are looking at when granting awards are an annual operating budget under 1.5 million, being in a high need area, and we are counting a high need area through the Jenny and Jesse process or map. For those of you that are familiar with that, it's a an index map of community service need. We will also drop that link available towards the end. We are also going to be looking at and prioritizing organizations who may be larger, but also trying to support or subcontract with smaller organizations who might not have the capacity to do that. One thing I do want to reiterate about award priorities is it doesn't mean that these are the ones who will always be awarded. These are just the priorities that we want to ensure will create an equitable distribution of funds for future availability, and also that we prioritize communities and community organizations that are on the ground and might not have the accolades for it and need additional support. It doesn't disqualify you if you do not meet this criteria. It's just an additional priority criteria that we are looking at. We'll go ahead and move on to the next slide where we'll discuss how specifically we are going to score. When we are looking at scoring, um, we are looking at two things. We're looking at a screening and priority criteria and an application review criteria. Uh, these two preliminary screenings will confirm, one, the minimum eligibility, but also the ultimate decision for final scoring and final review. Uh, we are going to make sure that, one, the application is complete, the organization is viable and eligible, so we will check all documents and ensure everything is correct, ensure the application is complete. We will be looking at annual revenue of under 1.5 million, ensuring that there was no prior LA County contracts, no prior SFCI funding. We will also be looking at where you're providing services based on zip code, again, looking at various indexes. We will look at whether you've completed the Incubation Academy with JCOD. We also will be reviewing executive board and leadership and ensuring that it's reflective of residents of LA County and reflective of the communities you are serving. Again, if you don't meet necessarily the revenue criteria or you have had prior LA County contracts, it doesn't necessarily disqualify you. It's just metrics that we are looking at to ensure that we're providing equitable access to these funds across the continuum of service providers, whether they are small or large. The second phase of this application review is the organizational experience and the capacity. Is there a mission fit? Is there experience? Is there a track record and the cultural competence of the organization itself? We want to make sure that it's also a good fit. Is there feasibility within the budget, the population, the service need, the outcomes? Does what you're applying for match with what services you're currently providing, and the outcomes you hope to measure? And is the budget reasonable to what you're able and have capacity to do? We will have both priority screenings and internal and external reviews to determine the final score of the grantees. One thing I do want to mention is it does say no prior LA County contracts. We will have a question in SurveyMonkey Apply about LA County contracts. Please be honest with those. It doesn't necessarily disqualify you. It is just a priority criteria to ensure that organizations that do have LA County or have had those in the past, to understand what it was, even if it was one-time funding, being as transparent as possible with all the funding and all of the things that you have done in the past will be really important through this. It doesn't disqualify you. It's just a metric that we are tracking to ensure, again, equitable access to funding and programming availability for the community. As we move on to the next slide, just going to give you a wrap up of all of the application checklists that you will need, things that we really want to make sure that you gather as you're applying, even prior to applying, that you have a fiscal sponsor contract if it applies to you, making sure that that's available because that will be needed to be uploaded in our system. Your leadership include your board of directors in the RFP. If you don't have a board, list your highest level of leadership, the zip codes that you do serve, so the zip codes you serve within LA County, the funding request and the staffing plan, the amount you're requesting, and the staff that will help you make sure that that plan is executed. We also will want to ask for milestones and timelines, an outline of what you hope to accomplish through the project and through your investment that you're requesting. A one-year impact statement. What will you accomplish within that year and how will you measure the change that you will be providing? And most importantly, a budget form. There will be a budget form that needs to be completed and attached onto this application that we definitely will be looking at. So please make sure that you're taking all of these things into consideration as well as the time that is needed to complete these things because that August 24th, 11 p.m. deadline will come very quickly and we want to make sure that you're all ready and prepared for that. Now I'm going to pass it over to Megan on the submission process.
Hi, everybody. If you can go to the next slide and then I can explain it. How do you submit? So applications must be submitted through United Way of Greater LA's online grants portal, which is SurveyMonkey Apply. There may be other TPAs that use SurveyMonkey Apply, and even though they are using the same platform, their site is different from our site. So please make sure to log into United Way of Greater Los Angeles's SurveyMonkey Apply well before the deadline, and also give yourself some time to get used to the system. As a reminder, applications close on Monday, August 24th, 2026 at 11:59 PDT. You will not be able to make any edits or submit your application anytime after that. Next slide. So using SurveyMonkey Apply, for folks who have used our grants portals before, welcome back. You can use your existing login credentials to access the application. And if you're unsure whether you had made an application in the past, you can try to reset your password if you had forgotten it. If you're new to our grant system, we welcome you to register to create an account. We encourage also making an account that will be accessible long-term. So that may mean using an email of a shared inbox or for key staff leaders / grant managers wherever possible. Once you have registered in our system, you can access the opportunity on the top right menu where it says program. And then from there, you will see the JCOD CFCI opportunity. So next slide. Once you click more, there will be a button to apply and start the application. And you can begin the application in your task section. Within the application, you will be able to select multiple program areas within this strategy area number 2 to apply, and it asks specific questions associated with each selected program area. So we ask if you can please only submit one application. All right, next slide. And you can add multiple people to complete the application as collaborators. They must be in a team within the account, and from there you can add them as a collaborator to help complete the application. I do want to note that the person who started the application must be the one to submit the application. So once you are actually finished with the application, there are 2 steps to fully submit it. So you must mark as complete at the end of the application and then press submit as well. Maybe Next slide. And some tips for competitive applications will align with CSCI equity goals and serve the appropriate Jenny identified catchment areas, demonstrate cultural competency and experience serving historically underserved communities, come from organizations with an annual operating budget of 1.5 million or less will be prioritized, but it's not a strict cutoff. So these criteria complement, not replace the formal scoring rubric that we shared on slide 16. And then I will pass it back to Nancy.
Just to give us a quick wrap up on what we went over today, we want to make sure that we talked about the application and you all had some understanding of how we will go about deciding who will be eligible for these funds and the eligibility for it, and understanding what the funds really are and who they are intended to support. We will have two additional more webinars on this process on August 10th and August 20th. In addition to that, we will be having office hours for these specific questions that you might have on the application itself. These webinars are just intended to help people understand the application process, the selection process, and help you all get grounded before you submit the application. If you have application specific questions, you can go ahead and apply or sign up and register for our office hours as well, and that link will be shared as well. And then as we go into our final question and open up for Q&A, I want to make sure to just mention this recording along with the deck will be shared out to those who have registered for this webinar. If you again think another coworker or another staff member could use this webinar, they can go ahead and also register for the upcoming dates. And then as we have a few questions, I will go ahead and begin to set them up. I know there's always questions around the strategies. There is one application for strategy 2, which is the one United Way is overseeing and has multiple programs within it. So I do want to share that you will only have to submit one application for the multiple strategies available for us. I also want to say that if you are applying for strategies 1, 3, 4, or 5, those would have to be completed through the other service provider or third-party administrator's application process. So our application process is only for strategy 2 and the programs within it. You will only have to complete one application for strategy 2, but within the application, you will have to share the programs that you are applying for and the funding that you are requesting for those programs. There is a question about how much experience is required with the proposed population. As mentioned, you need to have a minimum of 2 years of experience. With at least 6 months serving a specific population you're applying for. So let's say you're applying for strategy 2, but the specific program is under the undocumented individuals category or the reentry category, reentry workforce. Maybe your organization has been in service for 2 years, but has only served the undocumented population for 3 months. You would not be eligible for that program itself, but you have served individuals in the reentry sector for more than a year, you would be eligible for that program. So it is about not just years that you've been established as an organization, but the years that you've provided service to the population or program that you are applying for. Must applicants report the names of undocumented individuals or will data that is reported back in the process be de-identified? Service providers are required to maintain compliance with confidentiality. So we will collect reporting data, but it will be aggregated and non-identifiable. to make sure that we are in compliance with privacy and HIPAA laws. What is the payment timeline that applies after an award? So once we are able to grant and select the awardees, we will issue an initial payment within 45 calendar days of contract execution to the service providers. All payments will be distributed within 30 days after complete and accurate invoices as well. So we want to make sure that you all know how there's transparency around calendar payment and award notifications. How long will the service provider agreement last? This agreement is set to last for a 3-year term, beginning on the execution of service agreements and ending on the 3-year term after that. How many awards will be made? There really isn't a fixed number of awards that we will be making. We will be utilizing the different criteria that we have selected and that we have worked with JCOD and the county on to help create the award recommendations that will go out. So we don't have a maximum of awardees or a cap of who and how many. It really is understanding the need of the community and ensuring that our funds are able to meet that need based on the applicants as well. If you've received CFCI funding through another organization, can you still apply through United Way as well? You are eligible to apply, but you must disclose that information. Again, we are not eliminating eligibility based on prior funding. We are trying to capture all the funding to tell the larger story of your proposed request and ensure that there is a need and there is a match with the application and the programs that you are applying for. What types of organizations are eligible? You do not have to be a 501c3 to apply. Anyone who includes nonprofit, a tribe, business entity, faith-based organization, any fiscal sponsored organization. As long as you meet the solicitation specific requirements, including your legal standing, and you have the required documentation, you are eligible to apply. Then, if you are a graduate of the Incubation Academy through JCOD, we will work with JCOD to verify that process and ensure that that's available. We will also be asking, there was a question on difference between having an LA County contract and previously received CFCI funds. If you have had any government contracts, we do hope that you disclose that, and we are asking for that disclosure, regardless of whether it was CFCI funds or LA County. Some people received the one-time emergency COVID funds. We ask that you disclose that. So any and all funds that you have received that could be LA County or SFCI funds as well. I know there are specific questions that I'm going to turn over to Tina now to answer.
Thank you, Nancy. We're trying to answer as many questions as we can in the chat box also, but if you need more clarification, please reach out to us. We also have office hours that we would love to walk you through. If you want to walk through your application, if you have a question about your budget, or how to fill out the budget. If you are applying for multiple programs, we would love to walk you through that. And so let us know. And then I believe Megan will put in, you could email us at jcodinfo, and if Megan could put in the dates and the times, and then you could let us know which one you want to register for, and then we could register you. A few questions that I wanted to answer from the chat was, one of them was, for Section 9, what constitute past programming documents? You tell us, if you want to share anything about your organization that you would like for us to know more about. If it is an article that you were featured, if it was a program that you launched that you want to share about, if it's a flyer where you will able to outreach to a certain population and connect to folks. So it is up to you if you want to do it, and what content you want to share, just to kind of like let us know more about your organization. And we ask that you include up to just 3 attachments, but you do not have to, only if you want to. There was a question about recording from the first webinar. I saw 2 questions about that. Thank you for that question. You could not find it. Yes, because we have not posted it. We made some edits to the PowerPoint, so we will post this one as soon as we finish this, and hopefully we could post it by Friday. And then we are also including your questions and the questions we received on the first round of webinar into our FAQ page. So we're going to continue updating our FAQ page and including all your answers. There was 2 questions about the location of the headquarters versus services versus office. So your headquarter can be somewhere else, as long it could be a San Bernardino County or Ventura County, but as long as you have an office in LA County and you serve LA County residents. Because this funding is specifically meant for LA County residents, and that's where all the 5 supervisory district folks wanted this funding to go to. So you must have an office in LA County to be able to kind of serve folks in LA County. If that office is a virtual office, that is okay, as long as your business and your license is registered with LA County. That is what we ask for, because this funding is meant to go to LA County residents. So, and also if you have a headquarters somewhere else and you have one of your physical offices in LA County, we want the funding to go here and not fund headquarter office staff personnel. We wanted to kind of very, very much focus on the funding staying within LA County. Those were some of the questions that I was going to ask. I don't know if I want to pass it on. We have some questions about the SurveyMonkey, so Megan will respond to those. And
Yeah, I had some couple of questions, and then I'll also share some tips and tricks as well that we've seen throughout the application. So I did drop the link for the SurveyMonkey apply. Please let me know if you want me to resend that again. This one is specifically for strategy area 2. So if you are applying for 1, 3, 4, or 5, those will be different sites. So ours is, like again, as mentioned earlier, it's only for strategy area 2, and it's only for United Ways. And some tips and tricks for SurveyMonkey apply specifically. Definitely make sure you give yourself enough time to complete the application. It does close exactly at 11:59. So once it hits 12 o'clock, you will not be able to make edits and open your application or anything. So please, please, please give yourself some time and some grace for that. And then also making sure that you mark as complete as you get to the end of the application. That finishes your task. And then on the outside afterwards, you must submit your application. So there's 2 pieces, marking as complete and then submitting it. Some other tips is also just making sure that you select the right program area that you are wanting to apply for. And then it will lead you to the correct questions that you selected. And that's really all I have for SurveyMonkey apply. I may pass it over to Wahid if he wants to answer any questions.
Hi, everybody. So again, I'm having trouble with my camera. I apologize for that. But I do see some questions just around like eligible expenses and things like that. I would say if you're unsure if an expense is eligible, I would say write it into your application and then give a good justification as to why. And then we'll go from there in terms of in terms of like what is or isn't budget eligible. I saw some questions around. There was some more questions around like county funding and clarifying, and so I just wanted to double down, or not double down, but just to clarify that yes, please disclose any county funding that you received, if it was a grant or a contract, including CFCI funding as well. Sorry, looking at some more questions. Um, there was again questions around the budget threshold. So again, like 1.5 million is the priority for budgets, but if your budget is above 1.5 million, you are still eligible to apply. And then I saw questions around applying for multiple strategies. You are eligible to apply for multiple strategies, but just be aware that United Way is the TPA for strategy 2 only, and so you'll have to apply through the other third-party administrators for the other strategies. Sorry, just keep looking at some more questions. I think that was like the bulk of the theme for the questions that I saw. So yeah, I think I'll pass it back off to. So same question about like LA County DHS. Yes, all funding from county. It should be reported in your application. And then, sorry, before I pass it up, I did see questions about subgranting or subcontracting out work. That is eligible for the application. Definitely, there will need to be some type of like MOU or contract or some type of written agreement between you and the organization that you'll be subcontracting with, in order for us to be able to consider that. But yes, subcontracting is an allowable expense and program activity. Okay, so I think with that, if there's any other questions that we missed, or that if we didn't get kind of all the themes of the questions, we'll reach out to you all via email to reply to anything that we missed. But yeah, I think with that, I'll pass it back off to Tina, I believe.
Actually, we're giving it to Nancy now.
So as we wrap up, I know there's still a lot of questions that you might have and might not have clear. Again, we encourage you to ask those questions. We will be hosting office hours that you can attend, and we also will do have an email that you can continue to share any questions on. We do have a copy of all these questions, and we will try to get them to you all. We are capturing all these questions and hoping to share them out in a larger Q&A document for everyone to see, so that you are all aware of common questions that have been shared across all of the webinars that we've done. Again, I do want to reiterate, if you do want to attend our office hours, you are more than welcome to do so. That has been shared. That link has been shared by Megan, and I also shared our JCOD info@unitedwayla.org email in case you have any other questions that you want answered. We will ensure that we are trying to get back to you all as promptly as possible. And with that, I will close this out for the day. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your time. I know this opportunity is really vital to our community, and I hope to see you all at office hours, or have any questions for you in our email. Thank you.